with the recent advent of Season 9, it brought along with us things like enhanced linear fusion targeting and arbalite spam, which is very, very, very unfun to deal with. However, just as this game is the Mario Kart of FPS games, there is still a little bit of a skill balance in Mario Kart. And in this one, I'm going to hopefully break down the steps that I take in my mental process and all that kind of jibber jabber. What I do when I want to frag out or just play good in general instead of like being lazy and just kind of like walking around shooting guns, which is like most of the matches I play. So just to get right into this, I'm gonna break it down into a couple of categories as to like how one can play better. Actually, you know what? Let's take a step back here. Let's get down to the very basics of what makes good play. And to start off, I'm going to start with game sense. Yes, this comical, funny topic that always gets brought up in my videos. What is game sense? So there's a few key elements of game sense. The first I'll get into is the awareness of the map. And this encompasses spawns, enemy positions, your teammates' positions, power ammo spawn timers, power positions, anchor positions, angles, spawn weights, and the such. So in case you've been sleeping under a rock or something like that for the past several years, I'll give you the awakening here. The most effective method of winning matches at like a higher competitive level is spawn cycling. I'm probably not going to give like a hard rudimentary course on spawn trapping in this video because I could make like a 50-minute video on that and how to manipulate spawns, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to tell you and elaborate a little bit on that spawn weight comment that I made right at the end of what my previous statement was. So a spawn weight is sections of the map that are more weighted to spawn. To give a small crash course on how Destiny spawns work, to my knowledge, it would try to spawn you in two different mannerisms, if you will. Mannerism number one is it's going to try to spawn a player furthest away from where they last died. And there's two conditions on this. Whether or not there's enemy activity on a certain spawn location, if a grenade was thrown there, if a bullet was fired in that direction, if someone was sitting there, if a radar is pinging in that spawn weight area. And this brings me to my next point of spawn weighting. Certain maps in Destiny 2, and most games actually, have a priority of some sort, and this is spawn weighting, like you lift weights. And I'm going to throw a little diagram here on screen to give a visual example for you more visual spatial learners on this one. So with our diagram, we have this map of Javelin 4, and in the green circle we have the most heavily weighted spawn in the game, I think, besides Dead Cliff's trucks spawn, but that's whatever. That is the blue spawn. Second to that is the red spawn, so spawns at both bases, and if for some reason both of these are spawn neutral, like there's players scattered around the map and the game's like fuck that, we have the B spawn in the yellow rectangle. And I promise to you, if you pay enough attention when you're dying in these maps, you'll notice that you spawn in one of these three areas probably 95% of the time. So after giving this crash course on the Destiny spawning system that probably wasn't necessary, I can jump into a little bit more of the relevant things. So I'm going to cut it like really short and blunt here. The most effective manner to get kills is by lowering your time to kill on average across the board. What do we boil this down to? It boils down to your efficacy as a player, not efficiency. Your accuracy, in order, can you hit your shots, your precision, can you hit crits, etc., etc. And your positioning. Your positioning ultimately boiling down to what's a power position, is this a good angle? And I'll go into these, but a lot of it also has to do with like your loadout and then stuff like that. Okay, so we'll cover the power position comment. What is a power position? In Destiny 2, power position is anything that grants height advantage, has a lot of cover, and can cover a lot of angles at one moment. Okay, that's probably the most vague statement I've ever made when, saying something in context to Destiny 2. So instead, I'm going to give you some examples here it's going to solidify what I'm talking about to give you a really good example as to what you should be looking for, what you should be going for, and what you should have in mind when you're trying to set up with your team or in a spot to where you can frag out in a pub or something. And so to start off, we'll go to distant shores and we'll show you the elbow. So elbow is a phenomenal position because you can literally watch like 4 spawns. You can watch ring, which is also a good place to control the A spawn. You can look at R1, R2, dark hall, river door. You can even look over at the boat spawn through a crack. You can look at boat control, bitch rock, all of that stuff. This is just one of the best positions to be in a game. And if you're on like Stompy or something like that, you can walk over to the Rico. You can get onto the head or the little glitch out of bounds spot, which I fucked up the jump here. But this entire area is just full of cover, and it's incredible angles to be holding. In the next example, I'll show you Wormhaven mid control. So you can control top mid and low inner mid, or you could just call it inner mid or whatever. This top mid block here literally gives complete control of the outside, which is invaluable against inexperienced teams or someone's trying to break your push. You also get control of both the streets and a lot of cover. When you drop down to the low mid, you can use these pillars here and just work your angles and support your teammates who might be fighting top mid or something of that sort. And since it's symmetrical, this goes both ways. There's not one pillar that's better than the other, although I would say probably the red side pillar is better. And then even then, you get onto the B flag area, and you just have all these angles you can cover and all this cover you can work off of, plus the heavy spawns here. So this is an ideal position to be standing if you are like a hand cannon shotgunner. The previous example on Distant Shores is really good for like a pulse, scout, sniper player, but here's a hand cannon shotgunner position. All this cover, all these positions you can be looking at, and you're covering spawns at the same time. And a final example I'm going to show here is the extended bridge control on Burnout or Burning Shrine or whatever the fuck you might know it as. So like you see here, I'm just demonstrating that you can hold these bridges, you can watch the rotators, the bottom mid push, and again this is a symmetrical map on this side, so it works both ways, and you can hold the extended like the outer bridge areas where you can watch the spawn pushes. Of course this map kind of spawns players in a quad unless it's like a really unlucky spawn and you spawn like south and mid, but you can see these positions that you have height advantage and everything, like these are no-brainers when you really think about it. And of course this is things you'd probably want to hold in more competitive matches, not like quick play. And to conclude, I'm going to throw out a clip here of comp from when I was playing last night and demonstrate pretty much all of this in a single clip. And so right off the bat, our game sense kicks in before the round has even started. We see we're 3 up, I have 10 kills, my teammate has 5, my other teammate has 7, they have 6, 4, and 2 with negative ratios. So we can assume that my team's going to be getting supers or have had supers at this point. So right off the bat, I'm calling to my team, hey, I'm going to super first because I know I'm going to either have a super or get a super very quickly. So my teammate knows not to pop their super. I'm going to run down middle, pop my super, third person to look over, see if I'm being snipe angled. Notice that my inner rocket's free. I'm going to fly around, call out information, say, hey, I'm going for this guy, call out potential targets, what their loadouts might be, or their name at the very least, so that my teammates know. Chase down a guy, and I'm not going to overextend. So we're going to freeze frame, and we're going to take in all this information. It's going to be a lot to take in when you first start doing this, but as you do it more and more, it's going to become very quick and second nature. So first thing, I check the radar, I see my teammate died somewhere. Okay, I'm going to know exactly where they died, around blue stairs or rocket, I don't have time to check. I killed a player, I noticed my teammate got a trade. That means there's one target left. I notice I have very low super energy, but my teammate also supered. It now makes sense for me to chase with low super energy because I know how far the enemy is, and I know that I'm probably going to catch up with them, or I'm at least going to get some damage in. Even if I do die, my teammate who just smashed is going to clean it up. We're going to chase him down, get the kill with the last of our super, and we're going to freeze frame yet again to boil down all this information. So we see that one enemy has spawned on the B flag. That's yellow or orange. We see green. That's my teammate who died and respawned on rock wall. We know blue's an invalid spawn because they probably traded around this rocket area that my camera's pointing at. They also were on opposite teams, so that means it's a spawn neutral position, which there's some debate whether or not that's an actual thing or not. We know pad's invalid since we just dumped 2 supers on pad. So we're going to push B flag. Finally, we know that the orange guy who's respawned is going to anchor for his team on B because he died quite a bit ago, if you really boil it down, like several seconds ago. And his other teammate's going to spawn there with him because that's just how spawn waiting in Destiny works. So I'm going to push over there, and I'm going to be using a utility here because I know there's going to be 2 there. So we hit the play button. Teammate's still in super. There's one. Hit a shot. Missed the shot. Gonna throw my grenade. Nice quick scope. Back up in case there's a shotgun rusher. See, my arc web is hitting 2 players. One finishes. I run in, get the melee trade. Or just the melee kill. And that's just an entire play broken down for you. Check pad spawn. I know for a fact they're going to be at B. Blue, and most likely alt blue. So I pre-scoped that, and that's pretty much the end of that round. So I reckon that's enough talk about the map side of game sense. we can get into the less technical, I guess, more physical, less technical aspect of it all. And we're going to jump right into that, talking about accuracy, efficacy, loadout intelligence, and getting litty. So when people think of accuracy, they think of, oh, this guy is nutty, he can hit all of his shots. Well, that's not exactly the truth of the matter. So I don't tend to pride myself on accuracy. I call myself an accurate player, but I don't think my aim is great. The reason for this is because I just know where to expect enemies at all times, for the most part. And when you're able to do this, there's not a lot of hard muscle, aim maneuvering required. It's you point in a general direction, and there might be 15 pixels of deviation where I have to adjust my aim. Sure, I might have that like snap aim ability or track aim ability, but it ultimately I don't want to have to do that. I just want to be able to look at a hallway, know, oh, there's going to be a dumbass walking around this hallway pre-peeking with a dire promise in 2 seconds. No, there, click it with the sniper, and he's dead, and that guy is no longer a problem for another 3 seconds. And once again, this takes us back to the game sense and angles situation of map control and awareness. But if you really want to like have that cracked accuracy, if you just suck balls or you're not used to it, you want to build muscle memory because that's always going to be useful. Aim trainers, you can play some OS, read as Osu, Kovacs, whatever the fuck. Like building the muscle memory is never a bad thing. So there's my recommendations. So I brought up an interesting word, efficacy, and this is that word, and of course the definition is here, the ability to produce a desired or intended result. And what we can ultimately boil this down to in an FPS context is a lot of practice to build consistency and just being a well-rounded player. And that'll string us on to the next topic that these go hand in hand, and that is situational and fundamental understanding and development. When you boil a pot of water, to set the heat high, to usually cover the lid, like cover the pot with the lid, or you can leave it uncovered. If you leave it uncovered, you're going to get a lot more evaporation. Okay, so what happens if the cat grabs a towel and drops it on the stovetop and somehow moves the pot of water? You now have a fire. To take this towel and either throw it outside, if you have like concrete or something outside, to run it under the sink, throw it in the tub, something like that. Something to put that fire out. To logically take these steps. The fundamental development that you develop while you play your games and stuff like that is much of the same process. I know that if I'm shot from behind, I should probably turn around and shoot the guy. Or maybe I have 3 teammates in front of me, I can run into them and just bait. As you understand that this becomes a linear process the more you play, the more you practice. And the evidence is all over the place. Even in this clip, we can see that I saw 2 players, I knew that there was a narrow doorway, and I seen 3 on the radar, so I threw my arc bolt and got a triple arc web. In this clip here, I know that these guys tend to bunch up a lot. I don't have an arc bolt, so I'm going to try and get 2 instant kills if I can. I get 1 arc web damage, 2. I'm going to jump back. I get the shoddy hit, so that means I just need to get my range. I know that I just shit on 3 kids, so I'm going to teabag. It's a very linear process that just becomes second nature over time. But either way, this has been quite a long video, so I'm just going to summarize with a few points. Really work on that game sense. Really hammer that down. And that should be for every FPS game, every shooter game you ever play if you intend on playing it competitively or even remotely seriously, or you want to just be good at the game. It's a necessary thing, and it will take you way further than having perfect accuracy. Another thing is understanding when to use your utility, your equipment, like your arc bullets or your fire bullets or your solar grenades or your handheld supernova, god kill me, or your empowering rift. It's stuff like that, knowing when to dodge. You can use your dodge for third person, use your rift for third person, you can use your shield for third person, all this stuff. Knowing when to take the aim duel, and when you've just got a bad angle and you've just engaged a poor fight. All this stuff, it's all relevant. And it all, like, cultivates in something like that into just this one grand concept of being a sick fucking gamer. And eventually, you've done this for 10 years, and everything's like second nature, and you're able just to flow like water from shooter game to shooter game. And maybe you'll be like Formal or some shit and just go pro in every game you play. Now, statistically, not the likelihood, but hopefully this did a little bit in terms of educating or informing or opening some insights to some people. and now I'm just milking the clock for a 15-minute video. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it a ton, and catch you later, dude.